Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
What's good, Combat Conversation fam? What's up, everybody listening and tuning in? What's good, everybody in Facebook land? What's good, everybody in Instagram land? What's happening, y'all? So, last night, we had a UFC 250 card that was pretty decent. Those fights were awesome last night. We're going to talk about the results of that event. Quite a few other things, man, that we're going to have to talk about, man. We got quite a few things to wrap about today, man. So, we're going to talk about the results of UFC 250 last night. We're going to take a look at next week's event, which is UFC Fight Night. That's going to happen this coming Saturday on the 13th. And a bit of news in the world of MMA and boxing as well, apparently, because boxing is making its return this week. For those of you who did not know, there are 2 events on ESPN. Justice, what's up, my man? How you be, bro? There are 2 events on ESPN, one on Tuesday and one on the 9th and one on Thursday, the 11th. So we finally have pro boxing back. They're going to take the UFC's route and do it without fans in attendance. So we'll see how that works out. But we got it back. So that's a what? Plus, that's a win-win. Nevertheless, we'll look at that. We'll look at, of course, obviously, we'll talk about last night's card. We're going to talk about, the next couple topics are kind of tied together, man. We're going to talk about Jon Jones, which has appeared to, it hasn't been made official, but allegedly has relinquished his light heavyweight title. Again, that has not been made official. And there's a lot going on with contract disputes, not only with him, but with a few other prominent fighters in the UFC. So we're going to talk about that as well. And there's some big names like Masvidal, Jon Jones, even Sean O'Malley made reference to his contract negotiation last night. And he's a hot prospect. He's not ranked, but the kid is hot right now. So we'll talk about that as well. But first, let's talk about last night. And we're going to start with the champ. The champ. Listen, Amanda Nunes. I know that there will probably be a few people, few of the guys, few of the fellas that might have, I don't want to say an issue with this, but when we talk about GOATs, and when I say GOATs, I mean like some of the greatest fighters of all time. More particularly in this case, MMA, but just fighters in general. There are quite a few ladies that do not get the recognition that they deserve. And I have to absolutely admit that Amanda Nunes is one of those ladies. I don't think you can have a GOAT fighter conversation. I don't think it would be fair to have that conversation and not mention Amanda Nunes. She made work of Felicia Spencer last night. For those of you who did see it, that was a thing of beauty. For those of you who did not see it, I would like to assume that the replays are up on YouTube by now. If not, the ones that I can find, I will post to the YouTube page. But she looked really good last night. There were even instances in the fight last night where I thought they were going to stop it, but they didn't. Because Felicia is tough. Felicia Spencer, let's not take anything away from Felicia's toughness, because she showed a bit of that last night. But that toughness did not prevent her from getting worked completely over because Amanda Nunes gave her the straight uncut business. Do you hear me? But she did. She looked really good, Amanda Nunes, as she always does in the octagon. Looked really good last night in her first title defense of her featherweight championship belt. I call her the champ because she is one of 4 fighters who is holding or has held championships in 2 divisions simultaneously. She is currently the bantamweight and the featherweight championship. I will take a brief look at her resume in a second, but as for last night, she looked good. That was her first time defending her featherweight title last night. And there's no doubt in my mind, after seeing that performance compiled with the majority of her previous performances, that she is no doubt, in my mind, the greatest female MMA fighter of all time. There are some of you who might not agree. Again, this is just my opinion. I think Nunes got it. Straight like that, off the break. Let me know what you guys think. Always chime in Facebook land, chime in Instagram land. Call in 516-590-0996. Let me know what you think. But last night, Amanda Nunes got busy. She got a unanimous decision victory over Felicia Spencer last night. That was the main event for last night's card. And it was a total dismantling and destruction of Felicia Spencer. And Felicia is a top-tier fighter. So that just, again, I spoke earlier about Felicia's toughness, but that just goes more towards Amanda's case, her GOAT case, as far as I'm concerned. She gave it to her, man. She's a 2-division champ again, bantamweight and featherweight. The amount, I'm looking at the card that I have in my notes as far as the stats, the point stats, and the striking stats from last night's. Said that she had a 21-2 advantage in significant strikes, and that was only in the first round. 21-2, a comparison regarding significant strikes that landed. And from at that point, you were able to see how much more dominant that Amanda Nunes would be throughout that fight. It was crazy. And again, Felicia showed that the resilience that would come with a fighter as tough as she is. And you can see that not only in last night's fight, but looking at Felicia's resume, you can see that. She just was outclassed by Nunes. It's just a fact. That's just how it happened. Nunes was just she was just able to outclass and dominate her through all 5 of those rounds. She was hitting her with everything, like leg kicks, elbows, kicks to the head, punches to the head, spinning back. It was ridiculous. And what's funny about it is Joe Rogan, I was able to notice that Joe Rogan made mention of it last night about how she was able to beat Spencer at her own game, which was grappling, because Felicia Spencer is a grappler, and she was unsuccessful in being able to try to take down Nunes last night. So, again, just more in regards to the amount of dominance that Nunes had over her throughout the fight. And this is crazy, man. Just looking at her stats, this was Amanda's 11th straight win. She's won 11 in a row. Nunes is the GOAT. No debate. I got to be honest, Justice. There ain't too much to debate about that. I mean, I don't think, and when I say GOAT, I'm including her under the umbrella with the male fighters as well. And not saying that I would put her against them, but I'm saying this in regards to wins, winning streaks, championships, fighting ability, quality of opponent. I'm factoring all those things in when I say that, when I refer to her as being one of the GOATs. And I just don't think it's fair to have a GOAT conversation and not put Nunes in it. That's just my opinion, again, but that's where I am with it. But yeah, I don't think there's much of a debate. Again, I don't. But yeah, this was Nunes' 11th straight win. She hasn't lost a fight since September of 2014. That's back when she lost to Kat Zingano by TKO. And I guarantee you, if she was to fight Kat Zingano now, it would be a totally different outcome. I promise you. But Nunes hasn't lost since 2014. So again, I refer to her as the champ. I say that because she's one of 4 fighters to hold 2 championships simultaneously. You know, again, she's the bantamweight and featherweight champion. She has 13 wins. That's the most in women's UFC history. She has 9 finishes, which is also the most in women's UFC history. She has 7 KOs. Again, also the most in women's UFC history. She's the 3rd fighter to successfully defend titles in 2 divisions. Now, this is her resume I'm reading now. And hearing that, you would imagine that a fighter like that, when she decides to hang it up, first ballot Hall of Famer off the break. No question. I don't think they do. You know, they don't do the whole gold jacket thing. But if they did, there'd be one with her name on it in there already. Just wait for her to put it on. Just off her resume alone. So I don't know. Like, I gotta put her not only on the list, I'll put her somewhere near the top of that GOAT list, man. That's just me. But yeah, Amanda's the real deal, man. No question about it. As far as Felicia is concerned, I don't know what's next for her. With this loss, she goes to 8-2. She's 2-2 in her last 4 fights. And I'm looking at that division. Well, I don't want to say both divisions because Amanda is the champ, 2 of those divisions. But I don't know, like the bantamweight, like they pretty much put the featherweight position together on the fly. So I'm just trying to figure out where else now would Felicia fit in at if she was to continue and try to get I don't think there would be no point in giving her a rematch against a Nunes, at least not anytime soon. So I don't know. But nevertheless, yeah, definitely got her on my GOAT list, man. So that was the headliner. That was the main event for last night's card. We also had Cody Garbrandt fighting last night. He finally got back into the win column, which was definitely a good look for him. And it was how he won as well. He was able to beat Rafael Assunção last night, beat him with a KO, second round KO. I'm sure this is definitely a good look for Cody because he was ranked number 9. I'm sure he'll move up in the rankings. If I remember correctly, I think Rafael was ranked number 6. Let me see. The bantamweight. We're going to talk about that bantamweight division in a minute because he was ranked number 5. Cody was 9. Rafael was 5. He beat Rafael by second round TKO last night. We're going to get back to that bantamweight division in a minute because it's not particularly in limbo, but with Cejudo kind of rolling out, they're trying to figure out, I guess, what's next as far as the belt goes. So we'll talk about that too. But Cody looked good last night. He looked like the Cody of old, so to speak, man. Awesome KO win over Rafael. So I'm sure, I don't know how far up he'll move. Because you also had Aljamain Sterling last night, who looked really good in his win. We're going to talk about him too. But I'm just trying to figure out how far Cody would have to fight uphill to get another title shot, especially now since he doesn't have to worry about either Dillashaw, who he lost to, or at least for right now, Cejudo. So we'll get into that. But Cody looked really good. This was a desperately needed win for him after losing 3 straight. 2 of those were to TJ Dillashaw, of course. It just seemed like we saw a more focused Cody last night. Cody Garbrandt. He looked much more focused, much more determined last night, which I'm sure contributed to his win. He now sits at 12-3. and he'll move up the rankings. While Rafael, who was ranked 5 as of last night, he now goes to 27-8, and unfortunately for him, that will be his third loss in a row. So I'm not sure how far down he will fall from that number 5 spot. We will have to wait and see. I think the UFC updates their ranking system, updates the ranking placement, so to speak, is it Wednesday or Tuesday? I can't remember which day, but they do it towards the middle of the week. It's either Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'll wait again Wednesday, check, and see how they shuffle things around. I'm interested to see, and more particularly in that bantamweight division. So speaking of bantamweight division, Aljamain Sterling looked really good last night. He beat Corey Sandhagen, who I think, referring to Aljamain, at least as of right now, should probably be the next to fight for the interim belt since Cejudo was gone. He's ranked number 2. He beat number 4 ranked Corey Sandhagen last night in a very impressive submission victory. And the only person ranked in front of him is Marlon Moraes. And I don't really, as hot as Aljamain is right now, I really don't see him wanting smoke with Marlon. I don't think Marlon would, but that's left to be said. As the ranking system has it, you would probably have those two, since they are ranked number 1 and number 2, to fight for that interim bantamweight belt, because it does not look like Cejudo is going to come back anytime soon. Can we say that for sure? Of course not. But as it looks right now, you would have Marlon and Aljamain fight for that spot. But Aljamain made a clear-cut, good case for that last night, man. He beat Corey last night. Aljamain, he won. He goes to 19-3. Corey Sandhagen, who took the L, he goes to 12-2. Finished him with a real pretty rear naked choke, man. And Aljamain, I don't know. Let me see, because I don't remember him being more so on the grappler's aspect of the fighting style. Let me see him pull his tab up. He definitely made a case for it last night, man. That was a sweet win he got a hold of. And Aljamain, he's another fighter. We were talking about hot fighters. He's another fighter who's hot right now. He's on a 5-fight win streak, which is what got him to climb up to that number 2 ranking. Corey was on a 7-fight win streak before last night's loss. So I'm also curious to figure out how that's going to affect his rank placement. I'm pulling up Aljamain's tab right now as we speak. Let me see. Give me 1 second here, guys. Here we go. So, looking at Aljamain's record, you know what? Well, I stand corrected, because he is a black belt in BJJ. He trains under Matt Serra, so that would explain it. He's an NCAA Division III wrestler. That would definitely explain it. He's 19-3. Oh yeah, I definitely stand corrected. He's 19-3, and 8 of those 19 wins have come by submission. So damn, he is yeah, he is. I see that. I just saw that. Just it's my bad. He is the Matt Serra black belt. So I definitely was off on that. But that's a good thing though. But that, you know what though? That raises another question that makes me wonder. Let me pull up Moraes' tab, because that's gonna make me wonder how he would fare against Moraes. While I'm pulling up his tab, Sean O'Malley, I know he's not ranked, but he's been very hot. He's undefeated. He's 12-0, and he looked really good last night as well. He beat Eddie Wineland by a sweet first-round KO, man. There we go. Marlon Moraes. Okay, now. So, as my man Justice said, he is a Matt Serra black belt. And Moraes, okay. Now, oh, damn. Damn. He is says he's a black belt in Muay Thai. And he's a black belt in BJJ under Ricardo Almeida. Ooh. That makes me a little more intrigued to see him go up against Aljamain. That makes the possibility of the interim title fight more exciting. Sugar Sean is a beast. Yes, he is. Sugar Sean looked real good last night. And that's something else we're going to talk about too, Justice. I don't know if you saw his post-fight interview, but even though Sugar Sean, as he calls himself, Sean O'Malley, even though he's not ranked, when I say ranked, he's not located on their website within the top 15. He's hot right now. He's a top prospect. He's a bit of a draw as far as money-wise. People wanting to see him fight. He's undefeated. And he made reference to him wanting to renegotiate his contract, which is something else we're going to have to talk about soon, too. There's a lot of uproar going on in the UFC right now regards to a lot of fighters and their contract renegotiations. And somebody else within that bantamweight, the bantamweight weight class. Now, when looking at the bantamweight weight class, again, not that it's in limbo, but the top two fighters, which is who we were just talking about, Aljamain Sterling and Marlon Moraes, I would like to see them two, or I will pretty much like to assume that those two are going to be the ones fighting for the interim belt when that time comes around and the opportunity presents itself. I don't think, even though with as hot as Sugar Sean is right now, I don't think he will be able to work himself up the rankings quick enough. He's not even in the top 15 yet. After last night's performance, when they redo the rankings later this week, I definitely can see him somewhere in there. But not enough for him to put himself in the position for a title shot yet. You know, that would be him jumping the gun, in my opinion, referring to Sugar Sean. So I don't see that happening yet. But let's look at that real quick. Let's look at the bantamweight division. You got the top two we were just talking about. You got the Moraes and Sterling. Sandhagen, who lost last night to Sterling, he was ranked 4, so he's going to go down. You got Rafael, also, who lost last night to Cody. So Cody, the former champ of the bantamweight division, he's going to move up. You got Dominic Cruz, who just lost to Cejudo right before Cejudo retired. That same night, actually. John Dodson, Marlon Vera. I'm going all the way. The bantamweight division is stacked. It's kind of heavy, but within that heaviness, trying to, I guess, separate who within that list would be worthy of a title shot and who would not. Right now, I have to be honest and say my focus would be on those top two. Those two seem like they would be the best matchup. They would make for the most exciting fight, for the fans and for financially, for as far as the draw is concerned, that people would want to see. So after those two, I don't know. I want to say maybe if not Jose Aldo to get another shot. I'm going to skip past Corey and Rafael because they both just lost. So I would guess I would have to go to maybe Cody, maybe? Because he's 9 now, but he's definitely going to move up. So, that's a good question. I mean, you don't want to look at the division as if they don't have a champion right now, but technically they don't. So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard anything as of yet, at least coming from Dana, as far as interim titles being planned yet for the bantamweight slot. I would expect to hear something in the near future. I don't know. If not, I would think that would be a little strange. My man Just, why is Peter Yan and Aldo fighting for the title? I'm sorry, what? Is this something that just I didn't see anything about that as of late. So you're saying Peter Yan and Aldo are going to fight for the interim bantamweight? Is that what you're telling me? Justice, if you're seeing this, if you're hearing this, please let me know if that's what you're telling me. I'm about to see if I can pull it up now because I didn't hear anything about that. That's new to me. I'm not sure if I don't know how that would pan out for the. Oh, you know what? Yes, Dana is saying now that he doesn't want to go back on that. Yeah, he did. I must have missed that post-fight. I didn't see that. I didn't see that because the last thing I remember seeing post-fight was the O'Malley interview when they talked to Sugar Sean. But I see it now. He's saying that he won't go back. I'm not sure why he would do that, though. I'm actually looking at it now. Thank you, Justice, by the way, too. But he's saying Aljamain Sterling would follow. So, I don't know. See, looking at the ranking system, and I know we talked about this before. I've talked about this before. Dana has a tendency to step outside of what will be morally right concerning the ranking system and put together the fight that, in his opinion, would make him and the company more money, even if those two fighters that he feels as though would make him more money aren't the top ranked fighters. Whether they're the more popular fighters, whether they're the fighters that will bring more of a draw, attract more of a crowd, whatever the reason may be. He would go with that fight instead of him putting the top two fighters who have, quote unquote, earned the right to fight for that interim or to fight for the title or whatever the specifics of the situation is. But I don't see that situation applying here, looking at, as apparently, Aldo and Peter Yan. Not that that would not be a good fight, because I do think that would be a good fight. I'm just not sure if that fight would, one, be as exciting or as competitive as the Moraes versus Sterling, which apparently Dana says is next. Sterling is next, not Moraes. I don't think it would be as exciting, and I don't think that Yan and Jose Aldo, Yan versus Aldo, would be a more deserving fight as Moraes versus Sterling. Again, opinions. I just, to me, the Moraes versus Sterling makes more sense. So that raises another question now. So if Dana is saying that he wants to go forward with the Sandhagen, I'm looking at the records, excuse me, with the Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo, and apparently last night during the press conference, he said that Aljamain Sterling is next. So does that mean he's just going to completely skip over Marlon Moraes? See, this is what I mean by I don't think that would make much sense, more particularly as the ranking system is concerned. I don't get that. I just don't. But I'm not sure, again, what tricks Dana White might got up his sleeve or whatever. I have my own personal opinions about Dana White. I'll leave that off of the show. This is not the forum for that. But I don't get that. I don't get that in the from a fan aspect, or in this case, or in Dana's case, from a business aspect, because looking at Dana's history and looking at how he's put fights together in the past, it just seems that he would go with the fight that will make more sense financially, that would be more profitable for him and the company, and for all practical purposes, to me, no matter how you look at it, no matter what aspect you look at it from, it appears that the number one versus number two, the Marlon Moraes versus the Aljamain Sterling, would make more sense in every aspect. I don't know. Again, this is just opinions. I always say I try my best to remain unbiased, sitting in the seat, but I'm just trying to play it out logically, and to me, logically, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. unless Dana knows something that we don't. I'm not going to rule that out. Like I don't remember. Let me look up Marlon Moraes, because I don't remember hearing anything about. Unless I'm incorrect, I'm about to pull it up now. I don't remember hearing anything about Moraes being hurt or injured or not able to fight. Or let me see. I don't. And let me see if I can find anything. I don't see anything about him being hurt. I'm looking at it now. He lost to Cejudo. He fought for that. When he fought Cejudo for the vacant bantamweight belt, he lost to Cejudo by TKO. I remember that. That was that third round TKO. He was fighting a good fight. And he just beat Jose Aldo by split decision back in December. So looking at any type of information, more particularly his resume, I don't see anything I don't see any reason, why he would not be able to move forward with the Marlon Moraes fight. Decisions. I don't know. Again, unless Dana knows something that we don't know. So outside of the X factor for that bantamweight division, which at this point would be Sean O'Malley, in my opinion, again, I'm really not sure how he's going to move forward. Well, let me not say not sure, because apparently via the post-fight conference, he's made it clear that he wants to move forward with the Jose Aldo versus Peter Yan, which is confusing me a little bit. According to what he said last night, he does not appear to want to change his mind. It just makes me wonder if he wants to, I guess, if he's saying Sterling's next, the only logical conclusion that could mean is Sterling's going to fight the winner of Yan versus Aldo. So what? So does that mean that Moraes' #1 ranking means nothing now? Like, what? Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait and see how this plays out. I'm gonna have to. I don't really see any other choice. I don't. I'm gonna have to wait. We as the fans. Let me not say I. We as the fans are going to have to wait to see how this enigma of a bantamweight division plays out. So speaking of which, we were talking earlier about Sean O'Malley. We just mentioned. Always tell me what you guys think, man. You can call in, talk to me about this topic, something else we talked about before. You can ask me something about last week, 2 weeks ago. I don't care, man. It's all good, man. It's what we do here. Call in 516-590-0996. Or, as always, keep the Facebook live feed jumping. Keep the Instagram live feed jumping. And always, if you missed the show, I always post the live feeds up. And I put it on the YouTube channel as well. So, always, man, let me know what's good. But, now, we talked about Cejudo. Him leaving the bantamweight division. He, quote-unquote, retired. And one of the reasons he gave was finances, or lack thereof, concerning the amount of pay he was receiving via the UFC. John Jones made a statement. He talked about his contract negotiation, more particularly the contract that he was supposed to negotiate for the fight setup between him and Francis Ngannou, concerning his move up to heavyweight to fight Francis. So John Jones made it known that, listen, if you don't want to, work with me, I can roll out. Him and Dana have been going back and forth on Twitter for a while now. And it hasn't been made official, but reading in between the lines, when you look at the tweets that John Jones put out, he's basically saying, and this is just, again, opinions, he's basically saying that he's willing, if he hasn't already done so, let the light heavyweight title go. And it appears that he's set to give it up, man. Some of this report I got off of ESPN, some of it I got off of MMA Junkie. I went back, I followed Jon Jones on Twitter, so I saw some of these tweets myself. He also said some of this, he repeated some of this in an interview he did with Ariel Helwani. He posted on Twitter, he said, to the light heavyweight title, Veni Vidi Vici, for those of you who are familiar with that, or excuse me, who are not familiar with that term, it's a Latin term which means I came, I saw, I conquered. So that was just him basically saying goodbye to the light heavyweight title. He put one up shortly after that had a peace sign on it that said "Bones out." So basically, him dropping hints that he was about to call it quits concerning the light heavyweight division and quite possibly the UFC. He wrote also on his Twitter that he has nothing really to gain. I remember he said that a week ago. Nothing really to gain from fighting top light heavyweight contender Dominic Reyes. And that him and Jan Blachowicz should fight for the vacant title. So again, him giving another hint that he's pretty much about to let that light heavyweight title go. He also went forward to say, let Jon Jones say, let him know if you guys want to set up a day in 2021 for the Israel Adesanya fight. Hopefully you guys will be willing to pay me by then. This is what Jon Jones was saying. It says that these tweets were a part of an ongoing war of words between Jon Jones and UFC President Dana White. And I have been getting a lot of laughs following the back and forth that these two have been doing. If you don't follow either one of them on Twitter, I suggest you do if you want some comedy, man. These two have been at odds for more than a week following an unsuccessful round of negotiations for a potential heavyweight fight between Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou. I know we talked about the lack of ability to close that deal out last week. They were supposed to set up the negotiations for him to take on Francis with his possible move with Jon Jones's possible move up to heavyweight. And when the negotiations fell through, there were two sides to the story. Jon Jones was saying that Dana wasn't offering enough money to do that for me to move up. Dana said that Jon Jones was asking for way too much money to move up. So you had pretty much a tug of war going on here. It was crazy, man. Jones has adamantly denied White's assertion that he asked for a specific amount of money. In one social media post Friday night, Jon Jones went as far as to suggest that the UFC release him entirely if his reputation causes the promotion to undervalue him that much. And he reiterated that point in a tweet again early Sunday morning, which was this morning. During the post-fight, Dana White was asked about the situation concerning him and Jon Jones. And Dana's response was that Jon has done a very good job tarnishing his own name without any help from the company. Of course, he was trying to throw little slick shots at Jon right there, referring to Jon's situations that he had to go through outside of the ring with his arrests and convictions and getting caught dirty with the cocaine and the hit and run and all that. So he's trying to allude to those situations being the reason as why Jon Jones hasn't been as successful as he has. So Dana went on to say that, listen, Jon can do whatever he wants. If he wants to sit out, he wants to fight, he can do whatever. He can say whatever he wants publicly. It's his God-given right here in America. He can say whatever he wants. When he's ready to come back, he can. In one of Jon's tweets, he said, I tarnished his name. If I tarnished you? No, you've done a very good job of doing that to yourself. That was Dana White's response. So, you definitely see where the tug of war is going on here between Dana White and Jon Jones. And it seems as if that the base behind that tug of war is the money. Or on, I guess, Jon Jones' side, or in his particular case, and also in Cejudo's case, the lack thereof. But that seems to be the ongoing theme going around here when it comes to these contract negotiations. Because apparently John Jones is not the only one who feels as though that the contract negotiations have been, quote unquote, lackluster. We just spoke about John Jones's negotiation. Excuse me. A few weeks ago, when Cejudo retired, one of the reasons, I assume, the most significant reason he gave for his apparent retirement was the lack of money he was receiving from the UFC. So now, two more spotlight fighters have come forward during the time of their contract negotiations and have said the same thing. Jorge Masvidal and Sugar Sean O'Malley have been the latest two. Sean's has not been much of a complaint as John Jones and Cejudo's and Masvidal's has. And I think it's because of the amount of time or the lack thereof that O'Malley's been in the game. And I don't think he's been there long enough to have experienced as many negotiations as far as the contracts are concerned as these other fighters. But he definitely made mention last night, post-fight, after his win, about making sure that he's being paid what he feel he's worth. And you can't really argue with that, especially with a kid like that who is hot as he is. The kid's not even ranked in the top 15 yet. He's already got mega eyes on him. He's undefeated. He's a finisher. People want to see him fight. But we'll get to him in a second. Right now, we're talking about Masvidal. So Dana, of course, was asked about Masvidal's opinion about his contract and the quote-unquote lack of negotiations. And the part of the response that Dana made was he made reference to these fighters, the UFC fighters, being independent contractors. And he said it under the vibe of, like, as if that they can set their own prices and pretty much move and operate and deal how they want. So when Masvidal heard that, Masvidal went on Twitter and fired back. Obviously, Masvidal, he gets no, what. So Masvidal's response was, I'm not an independent contractor. If I can go anywhere else to make a living, he said, I'm not an independent contractor if I can't go anywhere else to make a living. He said, let me go and let me see if I'm worth it. And he kind of got a point there. So, now the thing about this is, when you look at John Jones and you look at Jorge Masvidal, they are both represented by the same management company. They're two brothers, Malkai and Abi? I'm not sure how to pronounce the other brother's name. But they're the Kawa brothers, and they own a company called First Round Management. And both John Jones and Masvidal are managed by the Kawa brothers, by First Round Management. So I'm not sure. I would like to guess or maybe believe that those two being managed by the same company could be a determining factor in this, as far as the negotiations are concerned. Because these two fighters are also just happen to be two of the hottest fighters in the UFC. Two of the more popular fighters. Two of the fighters that everybody wants to see fight. Which, in all honesty, gives them a lot of leverage when it comes time to negotiate these contracts. I mean, there's no guarantee that it'll pan out that way. But that's just the reality. Because, I mean, let's be honest here. What company, and the only other top tier company out there right now really is Bellator. But what company, Bellator or any other company, would not want to break their neck to sign a John Jones or to sign a Jorge Masvidal? Like, really? And see, the thing is, I don't know if I'm sure you guys remember. A lot of you MMA fans remember the issue that the UFC had with the Reebok deal that they acquired a few years back. there was a big stink made about the Reebok deal, because the Reebok deal stopped fighter sponsorship. For those of you who don't understand, let me explain. If you look at Bellator, for those of you who follow Bellator, if not, you can pull it up on YouTube, pull up some Google images, whatever. When you see the fighters come into the ring, into the octagon, there are a lot of flags you see that hang in their corner of the octagon, or you'll see a lot of products being advertised on those flags, or on the fighter's shorts, or on the shirts of his cornermen, or whatever the case may be, or they might have a hat on, or whatever. It's because those companies you see advertised via the fighter are sponsors, and the fighters make revenue and receive a significant amount of checks to be able to, those companies pay the fighters to basically advertise their product. And that's why you see it in the octagon like that. Now, the difference between the Bellator and the UFC is when the UFC acquired that Reebok contract, part of their contract was that the fighters could not use or make money off of those outside sponsorships. They all have to wear Reebok gear. If you notice, you go look back for the past few years, all you'll see in the UFC, as far as their gear and their wearing and what you see in their corner, is all Reebok. It's because they are not allowed to advertise other companies' stuff in the UFC octagons, which took money out of the fighters' pockets because they were making a decent amount of revenue via those sponsorships and via those advertisements, which is why a lot of fighters were against that Reebok deal. And via the Reebok deal, it's my understanding that the UFC pays their fighters on a tier level. You know, the champ makes a certain amount of money. Then from 1 through 15, usually how that ranking system works, and then the top ranked fighter, and then on down the line. And then, of course, they got bonuses for your wins. You got bonuses for the fighters of the night, knockout of the night, submission of the night, performance of the night. All those are added bonuses that the fighter can acquire via the result and or the production of said fight. But which is a totally different setup than the Bellator arrangement. But because that took a lot of money via the UFC, took a lot of money out of the fighters' pockets, there were a lot of fighters who had an issue with that Reebok deal that the UFC made. So unless you are a top tier fighter who has won the popularity, and two, some type of outside business venture or hustle or something like that, or some other endorsement that has nothing to do with the UFC. Conor McGregor is a good example of that. He has the Proper 12 whiskey. Who else? I'm trying to think of somebody else. But basically, when you're in that octagon and you're fighting, I'm referring to the UFC now, it's just Reebok and nothing else. So the only other way that I would see that they would be able to make that money back or try to, I guess, increase their revenue would be to negotiate their contracts. And of course, you saw how John Jones went about it. So now Masvidal is coming off and saying the same thing. And Masvidal, he just came off a 3rd round TKO win over Nate Diaz. That's when they had the BMF belt on the line, the bad mother, when they had that. He won the quote-unquote BMF belt. Masvidal, he won the ESPN's Male Fighter of the Year for 2019. So these are popular fighters. These are fighters that people want to see fight. The UFC makes a big, huge chunk of their money via pay-per-view. So these are fighters that people are going to pay to see fight. And that was one of the issues that Masvidal had brought up. Like, I'm not making any money off of that, man. See, Usman versus Masvidal, it says that it would have been one of the most anticipated fights of 2020. And I would have to agree. That's a fight that I would have paid to see. Usman versus Masvidal. And on Twitter, Jorge Masvidal said that the UFC offered him half of what he got to fight Diaz for the Usman fight. Now, even though that they made the quote-unquote BMF belt for his fight versus Diaz, that's not a recognized weight class belt / championship. So he was supposed to have been scheduled to fight Kamaru Usman for the championship. So he's saying in order for him to fight Usman for the welterweight belt, they were going to offer him half of what he did, or half of what he received for a fight that wasn't even technically a championship fight. If that's true, that sounds insane. That makes no sense to me. So, Masvidal said, look, man, I fought in backyards and those dudes never disrespected me the way I'm being disrespected now. He's referring to, that's how Jorge Masvidal got put on. He actually got put on, in so many words, by Kimbo Slice. Kimbo Slice got famous down in Florida for having those all those backyard brawls on YouTube. And Masvidal was a part of a few of those backyard brawls. That's how him and Kimbo got close. And that's what led to Masvidal getting into MMA and becoming a UFC fighter. He was like, oh, I'm kind of good at this. And that's what started him off. So that's what he means. That's what he's referring to when he talks about him fighting in backyards. So that wasn't a euphemism. He literally was fighting in backyards, which is what led to him being the UFC fighter that he is now. And he's saying he got more respect in the backyards than he does with the company he's fighting for now, the professional company he's fighting for now. That's crazy, man. Of course, they asked Dana about that last night, post-fight, giving Dana a chance to explain himself. So Dana, he told the reporters, this was at the weigh-ins, actually, for the UFC 250 weigh-ins. He said, listen, everybody wants more money. And of course, who wouldn't want more money? That's just what it is. He said, look, you don't have to fight. Anybody that doesn't want to fight, they don't have to fight, including Masvidal and John Jones and all these other guys. And it doesn't have to be because of a pandemic. These guys are independent contractors, which goes back to the response that Masvidal made at the beginning of this segment. We're not begging people to fight. So then, of course, Masvidal went straight to Twitter, and he said, you shouldn't compare the UFC to other leagues, man, which pay players half the revenue that they generate. He said, listen, we're negotiating from like 12, maybe anywhere from 12 to 18% of the revenue we generate. So a good example of that was UFC 249. They made roughly $45 million in pay-per-view buys. $45 million. Now you do the math. 12% of that $45 million. Let's say on the high end. Let's say it was 18%. So if you're looking at 18% of $45 million, and that 18%, again, I'm not sure if it was the 18%. I'm just looking at it on the higher end of that revenue. So 18% of that out of $45 million is only going to fighter revenue. For you looking at that, knowing how much your boss is making, that would make me a little angry too. That's crazy. Wow. That's only 45%, 18% of that is what? 8,100,000. So out of 45 million that you're making just off of pay-per-view buys alone, it's not like, I get it, the ticket sales, they have to have the fights without the fans in the stand. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Right. So you're having the fights out of the stands. Excuse me. Let me get that go. Coffee. 1 second. So you're having the fights without the fans in the stands. So I'll take it on the low end. Let's just say you're not making the concession revenue. Like you said, you're not selling the hot dogs and the beer and the burgers and fries and all that. And so you take away concession revenue, you take away merchandise revenue, and take away the biggest, which would be ticket revenue. So if you're making $45 million without those other three revenues, imagine how much they're making with those revenues involved. And you're still only giving your fighters on the high end 18%? That's insane. That's insane. Now, again, I could be wrong. I'm just going off of the numbers that I see that Masvidal are giving me, that he put out on Twitter. I haven't seen Dana put out a response saying those numbers are incorrect or this is the right numbers or that. I do know the one number I know that's factual is the $45 million off of a pay-per-view rights for UFC 249. UFC put that number out themselves. That came from them. So I do know that's factual. But just imagine that. And this is just everyone except McGregor. My man just, and you know what though? But McGregor can say that because whether you like McGregor or not, McGregor is a smart businessman. He got his own business. He got the Proper 12 whiskey. He made bank. He made bank off of that Mayweather fight. So if McGregor decided that he didn't want to fight another day in his life, he's straight. So like him or not like him, you know, different people have different opinions on Mayweather. I'm not going to say Mayweather. It's McGregor. But you're right. Everyone except McGregor because McGregor is a smart businessman. But I'm just thinking like, yo, you're making $45 million off of pay-per-view buys alone. And that's just not including the other stuff that you had to temporarily cross off because of the pandemic, the concessions and the tickets and the merchandise and all that. You're bringing in off of pay-per-view $45 million. And you're only on the high end, the 18% of that going to the fighters, which is $8 million, roughly $8,100,000. Those numbers don't add up. Nevertheless, we're here. But again, that makes that goes towards making the case of what these fighters are saying. Why John Jones and why Masvidal and why Cejudo are pissed off, man, because they feel like that. Imagine that, man. Like if you're working for a company and your boss is making $100 million, and you only get paid $1 to $2 million or a couple $100,000. That's going to make you feel some type of way. That's natural. So I don't know how they're going to move forward with this, man. But I got to be honest, man. If he's going to call, if Dana's going to call their bluff, meaning John Jones' bluff. I can't say Cejudo because Cejudo already rolled out. Cejudo already retired. But if they're saying that they're not going to renew their contracts, my man Big Lee, what's up? I'll take that 400,000 no arguments. See, we can say that, Lee, because we not. Well, at least I'm not making that type of bank, so I can say that. I'm not sure how well you're doing, brother, but I can say that. I can say I'll take the 400 grand because I'm not balling like that. I'm just comfortable. I'm not balling, but yeah, 400 grand does look nice. But I gotta be honest, man. 400 grand looks like peanuts to somebody who's making 45 million. That's just being honest. And this is even after again, the Reebok deal with the tier level of pay for the fighters and the bonuses for the wins and the performance of the night and the knockout of the night and the submission of the night and the fight of the night. And this is after all these bonuses have already been acquired by the fighters. And so, before a lot of this stuff came out, you would wonder why these guys, people say you're doing what you love, but this is, at the end of the day, this is still their job. This is their means of employment. You know what I mean? This is how they eat. This is how they provide for their families. Well, let me say, not all of them, because you have some fighters who have outside means of employment. Stipe Miocic, the heavyweight champ, is a good example of that because he's a fireman on the side. So I'm sure he's getting compensated for that as well. So I can't say, let me retract that. I can't say all fighters. But nevertheless, we're here. It's just crazy, man, to see like when you look at the intricacies of how that price breaks down. Give me 1 second, G fam. The IG only gives you an hour. I'm going to bring that back up. Give me 1 second. only gives you. I don't know why they do. Oh, I guess I understand why they do that. But okay, IG Live, we're back on. We still got a little bit of time left. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like, just to see how I'm interested. I'm intrigued to see how these contract negotiations are going to move forward. Because if Dana decides to call their bluff and to not give them what they're asking for, I mean, I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not going on anybody's side. I'm definitely pro fighter, but I mean, I can't say one person is lying or the other one is or isn't. A good example of that is the situation with John Jones and Dana. John Jones is saying Dana isn't offering me enough money to move up to heavyweight and put myself at more risk. Dana is saying, yo, you asking for too much money, especially now when we're going through a pandemic and we're not bringing in all of the income and revenue that we usually do. But I have to be honest, it's kind of hard to say that when you're making 45 mil off of pay-per-view alone. That makes you wonder how much you were making when you were in full capacity, bringing in all the other tickets and merchandise and vending and all that. Makes you wonder. But nevertheless, we're here. My man Jess. Conor retired again. Dana told him to wait for a title shot. That means he will only fight one more time. Conor wanted to fight 3 or 4 times this year. Dana got problems. You know what? I agree. And looking at the rankings in the lightweight division, now that Khabib is able to leave Russia, just real quick, now that Khabib is able to leave Russia and come fight, that changes things. And Conor's ranked number 4 in that division. And let me see. So looking at the interim, how that's going to pan out with Gaethje, I don't know. Like, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, is he going to get him go against? I don't know. So I'm seeing if we're going to have this go either one or two ways. Khabib against, which is the most likely outcome, in my opinion, Khabib versus Gaethje, and or Khabib versus, well, not going to be Khabib versus Conor again. Conor versus Gaethje. So either, which is I think the most likely one is going to be Khabib versus Gaethje to unify the title, or they're going to do Conor versus Gaethje, and let the winner fight Khabib. I have to throw Dustin Poirier in the mix right there too because he's number 3. Only reason why I'm skipping over Tony Ferguson is because, of course, obviously he just lost to Justin, so I don't know. But that's a tough one, Jess. I don't know, man. You got me thinking now. But nevertheless, these contract negotiations, how these things turn out, are going to be interesting. Again, we mentioned Sugar Sean O'Malley, man. He even mentioned about renegotiating, his contract, man. He just said that he didn't throw any type of numbers out there or dollar signs or make any demands or anything like that. And I'm sure it's because of his tenure. He hasn't really been in the game as long as a lot of the other fighters we just named or talked about. He just made mention of wanting to be paid what he is worth. I can't really argue with that. And especially, again, now, because this kid is hot, he's undefeated, he's 12-0. He's just made mention of, after winning last night, he wants to renegotiate. He's 12-0, he's 4-0 in the UFC. He beat Wineland, he beat Quinones, he beat Kamath, I can't even get this guy right. And he beat Terrion Ware. I remember that fight too. And the kid's stock is going up, man. Sugar Sean O'Malley's stock is going up fast. He said last night he made about 40 grand to show up and 40 grand for the win. So that's 80 right there. And he got an extra 50. We talked about the bonuses earlier. So he received the bonus. He received the bonus for performance of the night. So that's 130 grand right there, the 80 plus the 50. I guess he feels like he's worth more. And with his looking at his performances thus far, he's making a strong case. I don't know how much more that he could ask for or that Dana will be willing to give him, being as though that he's not really ranked in the top 15. But after these most recent performances, you know, through the middle of the week when the UFC adjusts their ranking system, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in that top 15 this coming Tuesday or Wednesday. That wouldn't surprise me. Talking about Sean O'Malley. The kid is a top prospect. He's going to be a star in this league, in the UFC. I promise you that. I guarantee it. Yeah, man. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to say that. It just makes you wonder, are they going to have to do like a complete overhaul? I mean, I don't think Dana's going to be willing to change the way that they do business. Not that much. He'll make little minor changes here and there, but I don't think he will be willing to overhaul the system, especially with the major change they made a few years ago when they got the Reebok deal. I just don't see that happening, which means that if he wants to satisfy these fighters, he's going to have to write a check. Now, the question, the $1 million question is, or will be, how big of a check will Dana be willing to write to keep his top tier stars? That's going to be left to be determined. I don't think any of us will be able to answer that. But he's going to have to address that issue, or you're going to see people leave. You're going to see fighters leave if he doesn't. Always, as usual, let me know what you guys think. Keep the Facebook Live feed is always jumping, man. Keep the late Facebook Live feed jumping. Keep the Instagram Live feed jumping. You can always call in and give me a buzz. 516-590-0996. Before we roll out, we're going to take a look at, we got boxing back. This week, we have the return of pro boxing. They are taking the UFC's route by having their events without the fans in the stands. Excuse me. So we'll see how that works out for them. But they have two pretty decent cards in preparation to go down. One will be on this Tuesday, June the 9th, and the other will be the following Thursday, this Thursday, June the 11th. The card on the 9th will have Felix Caraballo. He's a pretty good kid, man. I like this kid. He's 13-1-2. He will be taking on undefeated 13-0 WBO featherweight champ Shakur Stevenson. Now, I like Caraballo. I haven't been following him as much. From what I've saw of him, I like him. Haven't been following him as much as I followed Shakur. Shakur Stevenson is the real deal. Unfortunately, they're fighting at 130, which is past the featherweight limit of 126, which means that Stevenson's title will not be up for grabs during this fight, which is a bit of a disappointment for Caraballo. But he agreed to go on with the fight because he said that this will be an excellent opportunity for him to showcase his skills and prove his worthiness, which I agree with. Because if he's able to beat, IG Live, sorry about that. If he's able to beat Stevenson, that'll be big. That'll definitely be big. So even though he's not able to fight for the title, he definitely sees this as a great opportunity. This is Caraballo's first fight outside of the States. All of his pro fights have been in Puerto Rico. So this is his first time fighting a pro fight outside of Puerto Rico. Stevenson beat Christopher Diaz in April of last year by unanimous decision. That was his last fight. So we'll finally have pro boxing back in the ring this Tuesday on ESPN. Make sure y'all tune in and check that out. We will be talking about the results thereof this Sunday. We will also be talking about Thursday night's fight, also on ESPN. I'm happy to see pro boxing back. Haven't been able to talk about pro boxing for a minute, man, so this feels kind of good. We will have Yenifel Vicente. This is a name that's been around for quite a while. He's going against Jesse Magdaleno. Vicente, 36-4-2. He's a veteran. He's been around for a while. Magdaleno, he's been around for a minute too. He's 27-1. That one L came when he lost the WBO junior featherweight title to Isaac Dogbo back in April of 2018. He lost by an 11th round TKO. But he's hopped back on his horse since. He's won his last 2 fights. So he's been looking kind of good. Vicente is coming off a nice bounce back win. He had a 4th round TKO win over Rodolfo Hernandez Montoya back in October. So they will be fighting Thursday the 11th. So not only are we looking forward to that, we have another MMA event, another UFC. I mean, you know what? Bellator has been missing. I looked at their website. The next Bellator event does not seem to be taking place until around late September, maybe early October. I can't remember which date I saw, but we will have another a month or 2, or 3 before the next Bellator event. So I'll be happy to see them back as well. But the UFC will have another fight night this Saturday, June the 13th. The ladies will be on display again this Saturday. We've got number 1 ranked Jessica Eye. She's been looking really good as of late. She's 15-7. She will be taking on number 10th ranked Cynthia Calvillo. Cynthia is 8-1. Now Jessica has won 4 of her last 5 fights. Excuse me. That one loss came from her fighting Shevchenko. Everybody knows that Shevchenko is a monster. She's a bit of a monster. So she lost to Valentina Shevchenko for the women's flyweight belt back in June of last year. And I would think it's a pretty safe bet that she's itching to get another shot at Shevchenko. And maybe, since her being ranked number 1, if she wins this fight, she might get that rematch. Cynthia was on a 2-fight win streak until she went to a draw against Marina Rodriguez. That was her last fight. It was a draw against Rodriguez. That was back in December. So she looks to get back into the win column, technically. I mean, it wasn't a loss, but it wasn't a win. So she needs to get back into the win column. I'm sure she's looking to do that this Saturday. And we also, on that card, will have Carl Robertson, versus Marvin Vittori. And you'll have Merab Devashvili versus Ray Borg. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. Ray Borg. I remember him. He's a veteran in the UFC as well. So we'll have that jumping this Saturday. Always appreciate the love, man. I love talking to y'all. Love rapping with y'all. Y'all keep that Facebook live jumping, man. But y'all can always definitely call in. Keep the IG live jumping as well. For those of you who miss it, this episode, and all episodes will be posted today on the YouTube channel as well. So make sure you like and share and subscribe. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, so I definitely appreciate the love, man. I love talking to y'all. And until next Sunday, talk to you later, family. Holla.